What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is the first video I put up after my India vlog. I know I've been gone for a very long time. I am excited. This is a little bit different than what you guys have normally seen. This is not a vlog. This is a radio interview I did a week ago. This is something a buddy of mine put together. I just wanted to intro the video a little bit. You know, I've been gone for a while. I've been working on a lot of stuff for Confident. I've been working on a lot of stuff as far as school goes and stuff of that nature. Reading a lot of books. I'm putting a lot of stuff out there. Social media game is off the charts. IG at King Kulhari. You know, follow me on there if you don't already. And so just wanted to segue into this video before I do get started. Make sure, you know, you listen to this. I know it's a little bit long. Make sure you listen to this, you know, whether you're sitting down, you know, you're doing something else, you're driving. Listen to it like a podcast because it is fairly long. And it's a little bit, it's about my life, essentially, where I was born, how I've been brought up. And the last 20 to 30 minutes are the most important part because it's about Confident as a whole and where I'm at in my life as far as business and all that stuff goes. So enjoy this interview. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the other side.
What is up, Miami? You're listening to WVUM 90.5 FM, The Voice. You are tuning in now into Code 305, hosted by yours truly, Octavio Rios. So just to give a quick description of what the show is, I just started this semester. Basically, we bring in people with, you know, cultural backgrounds, you know, how that's affected their perspective on growing up, you know, things they would do in the household, holidays they would celebrate, just to, you know, specify what that particular means. Then we go ahead and transition into, you know, what Miami has developed onto their perspective, being in Miami, exposed to whatever area it is that you're from. How has that taught you some sort of lesson, perhaps? How has that influenced the way you see certain people versus others? Then we finish with an additional talking point of what my guests are currently doing at the moment. So in the studio, I'm joined with my boy, Viraj. Introduce yourself, Viraj.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Viraj Kulhari. Hope everyone's having a great night. I'm a junior here at the University of Miami. Been here, you know, all 3 years. About to graduate in about a year or so, and I'm extremely excited about that.
Excellent. So, can you tell me where you're from?
I'm from Pembroke Pines, Florida, but my family comes from India. So I'm Indian descent, you know, Hindu, 100%.
Excellent. Just to touch up on that. So, what do you feel like is different about? Well, can you kind of highlight what the Indian culture you feel is very obvious to know? 100%. You know, whether it be clothing, what you eat. Yeah. Can you kind of touch on that?
I mean, it is a different. It is very different in terms of how America is. You know, as a culture, we have, you know, our traditional dress wear, we have our food, we have the festivities and stuff, and you know, like the way we do things is a little bit different than how things are done here. And especially growing up in, you know, with all of my relatives, pretty much all of my close relatives, about 30 plus people, it's been everything that it's the only thing I knew for the first, you know, few years before I got into preschool. And then that's when, so like in a sense, Hindi was my first language.
Absolutely. Because
I had to, and my grandmother and my grandparents, they don't speak English, so that was my way to communicate with them. So I had to learn, you know, that language. So it's the Indian culture and Hindi and it's been a big influence on my life. So
absolutely. So speaking on the Hindi, can you kind of describe like how that kind of sounds, or, you know, actually how'd you learn it? So you said you're growing up around your grandparents, correct?
Right. So
go ahead.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know how to read or write, but as far as speaking goes, I consider myself 100% fluent. I can speak with the best of them, I believe, because, you know, that's how I used to talk to my grandparents, and they didn't know English very well, so that was the way that I was brought up. We used to watch like Indian shows. For an example, I didn't really listen to American music till I was in fifth grade, 6th grade. So we're like 11 at that age. So for 11 years, it was strictly you know, Hindi.
So what kind of music would that be in particular?
But well, mostly it was, you know, like nowadays it's transformed into like trap is very big, I think, in all cultures. So whether that be, you know, English rapping or whether Spanish trap, which I've gotten into, but I think Indian trap is just evolving and is just getting started. But that's where it's at. But in the beginning, it just used to be Bollywood songs, man.
And what does that kind of sound like? Because I mean, what I listened to when I was growing up was basically salsa, merengue, a lot of that Latin stuff. Can you kind of like give the audience an idea of what instruments may be going into playing Bollywood songs?
Bro, geez, I wouldn't even be able to tell you, bro.
But like, can you kind of talk about like what kind of does it sound like? Do you notice that maybe certain things, like what's a common, for example, for reggaeton, for those that know, Puerto Rico made that. I'm Puerto Rican,
Yep.
and that's essentially almost like trap.
Right.
But it has a distinct sound, so like a boom, da boom, da boom, da boom. Always you hear that. No matter what song it is, it might tweak up a little bit, but the cadence is always that. Can you maybe?
I think the only thing I can speak on as far as Hindi songs go is you got to listen to each song as its own piece, because everything is very diverse. You can go like what you said, boom to boom to boom, like something like that, or it could be like super fast paced. It's very diverse. I think if for everybody that's listening, if they get a chance, at least give it a try. Especially for people that don't know, there's a Jay-Z mix with an old Punjabi folk song. I think it's Mundiya Tu Bach. It's called Beware, basically.
Absolutely. Can you kind of describe? So if I go to Bollywood, have you been to India?
Well, yeah, I've been almost every other year, I would say.
So it's a frequent thing.
With a few gaps in the middle of it, obviously, like a few gaps of like 5 years or so, but like I've been.
So it's like a tradition, basically.
It is. I'm very close to
Absolutely. So you go visit family over there? Is it more vacation? What do you guys kind of do over there?
Well, for example, mostly like the past few trips that I've taken to India have been wedding based. So it's been either my cousin's wedding, my sister cousin's wedding, or like it's been.
Wait, before you go on into the wedding, can you describe how people meet in India?
How people meet?
Because there's the typical thing that I know, at least for me, is that in India there's arranged marriages.
Right.
Did that happen? Was that the case with your parents?
Oh yeah, 100%. It was, but it's not as serious as people try to make it. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, you were 13 and you got married and that was it, and you had no say in the matter. You met your wife on the wedding day. Like there's certainly cases where that is the case, but it's a very small minority. For the majority, it's usually like it's like an adult Tinder in a sense. So it's like your grandparents or your aunts, your uncles, they all know somebody that's of similar age range of you, and then you get a chance to meet them. You go to their house, you meet their family, you have dinner and stuff, and while you're having dinner, you discuss like family history, like basically if there are any, not necessarily like diseases, but basically things that go into what has made their family so far, like how many siblings, relatives, all those things go into play, and then you basically like the two people meet. They have an individual conversation. If they like where it's going, they move further. It's conservative in a sense, but at the same time, it's worked out because for all the arranged marriages that I've seen, I'm very happy, especially my parents. So
awesome. Yeah, because I usually hear that, or at least like the typical thing to hear is that people get the arranged marriages and then they don't end up liking who it is that they picked. So you would discard that that's not even the situation.
I would just think that it's become mainstream because it's easier to believe. I think it's easier to believe that, okay, like arranged marriages just don't work at all because that's something that most people don't believe in, especially in a place like America where it's not as common. People can easily write that off as, like, oh, that's not right.
Right.
But if for people who've seen it and people who've been a part of it, they can definitely attest to, yes, I mean, just like in any case, like marriages are now, 50 to 66% divorce rate, something like that. So marriages as a whole are hard. But, when two people that really want to make sure that it works, the marriages work, they go for it and then it works out. For some people it does, some people it doesn't. But, from what I've seen, like there's definitely a silver lining to arranged marriages.
Absolutely. Sure. So not saying we got the arrangement done. Now we're going into the wedding. What usually is the custom that's involved with that?
Oh, I mean, I can't speak for American weddings or different types of weddings because I've never that's all I've seen so far at 22 years of age. I mean, it's a surprise to a lot of people. For me, I've never seen it, and the only thing I can say is it's multiple day events. So it's like 4, 5, 7, every single night there's something going on. Then the next morning you got to wake up early and start the day over again. So it's definitely not a lot of sleeping that's going on during that time period. But there's a lot of dance, a lot of music, a lot of meeting new people and meeting the relatives of the other side and the other family, and it's a great time. I mean, speaking of the wedding that I was just at, it was just an unbelievable experience, especially because I hadn't seen one that was so grand at such an older age. So the last wedding, if I can speak on that, was in 2015, and fast forward to now, which was 28. It's just I was a freshman at that time, becoming a sophomore, and now I'm a junior in college. So the way I approached the wedding was completely different, and it was beautiful, man. If I do say, a lot of new technology, so that makes a huge difference as far as like how grand a wedding looks, you know?
Right, absolutely. Do you feel like you're gonna have an arranged marriage, or is that something that you really don't feel like is something that you're gonna look into?
I mean, I'm open to all avenues. I'm gonna just leave it at that.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. So coming back here to the States, how would you describe? So you pick up. So you learned in either. Where did you say you will pick up your customs and your traditions that you're familiar with? Would you say that it's at your household or over in India, or was it a mixture of both? Kind of bringing back stories that maybe your grandparents told on your way over here.
Definitely my household. So as a little kid, like I used to spend a lot of time with my grandparents. Obviously, my parents were working. And as I got older and around, the 9, 10, 11, 12 range, it became my parents. And especially my mother, because she's been very strict on, not strict in a sense, but like she's been very like, this is what the culture is all about. And she would always teach me and show me videos. And we would watch, like Indian soap operas and stuff when I was younger. So a lot of that like has taught me like certain traditions, certain rituals, certain rites, stuff of that nature. I've gained a lot from my mother. I've definitely gained from a lot of my aunts and my uncles, who I've been around, essentially my entire life. And like I said, like I grew up with 30 people in one house, and it hasn't really changed. We now live in the same sort of cul-de-sac with like, houses side by side, and it's like a block party. It's like our own little block party because nobody else has access to that area, and it's just us.
Right. So do you say that a typical Indian family is very large, or like now it's a little bit less?
Man, to be honest with you, I think it depends, because as far as a big, large Indian family, I've seen ours, and I've seen small amounts. I've seen more smaller Indian families, I would say, than I have seen big Indian families in the United States. In India, it's a completely different story, but here it's been more small, because usually what happens is a few, like one person of the family comes or moves to America and starts his family, whereas in this case, like my uncle came over and eventually brought everybody over. And he was the reason, because he worked for that. Like he made sure that everybody had the chance to come to America, because he wanted to be with his family. He wanted to make sure that everybody, so he, like my grandfather came here, my dad came here. This is only like, I would say about 30 years ago, 35 years ago, so it's pretty recent if you really look at how long ago that is. And yeah, man.
Absolutely. So what would you say, for example, would be a custom that you've learned from your grandparents in the household, or just from parents in general?
A custom?
Yeah, like just something that like typically. So like, for example, clothing. So when you go to Puerto Rico, like where I'm from, and you go to the countryside, a lot of we have a lot of clothing that it looks farmer like, because obviously we're in the country. So just something like that. So have you noticed any like that when you go over India? Like, what's usually the things that you guys wear?
Well, I mean, for a lot of people that are watching, probably can relate to this. I mean, have you seen Black Panther?
Yes.
Yeah. So what he's wearing in the plains when he's meeting his father, I don't know if you remember. It's like a white long. It's like the top goes almost down to his knees, and then he's wearing like sort of like a pajamas that go all the way at the bottom. So it's sort of like that. It's called kurta pajama, and it's very different. Like the shirts.
Is it comfortable?
It is comfortable.
Awesome.
I would say it's probably more comfortable than what we wear here, because it's so tight and restrained. And when you wear that, it's a lot more spacious and a lot more comfy.
I forgot to ask you, what about the food? We haven't really talked about that.
Bro,
what would you say your favorite thing? Like your mama's cooking. Like you can immediately be like, this is mama's cooking. This is something I cannot find.
I would say your chicken, bro.
Chicken? How do you guys do with it then?
It's the same as any chicken, but just add curry, any type of curry. It sounds funny, but she like. And the crazy thing about that is my mom doesn't even eat chicken.
Right.
She's a vegetarian. She's been vegetarian all along. She never tasted chicken. She never tried it, but it's the best chicken I've ever had. Hands down. Aside from that, if you were to take me to an Indian restaurant, I would go get, butter super good. You get that with butter naan, which is it's like a tortilla.
Okay.
It's like a tortilla, but it's a little bit more fluffier, and it tastes a lot better than regular tortilla.
Right. What about desserts? Do you have any preference for that?
Dude, there's something called a rasgulla, and it's like a white sugary ball of heaven, I guess I would say.
Okay. So what about so we talked about the food, clothing. what we talked about the artists that you do you have any particular like specific artists actually genre?
One person, and this guy's name sounds super funny, but it's Yo-Yo Honey Singh,
Okay.
and the other guy's Badshah, and the other guy I met I find he's even cooler because he's like his name means king or like emperor in a sense, and like superstar. You can put it in many different ways, and like his music is really dope, and Yo-Yo Honey Singh before him was really dope.
Excellent. So what about like do you have any when you ever had car rides with you? Because when I had car rides with my parents, my dad always played like certain music that really reminds me of home.
Yeah.
Did you ever have that experience with your
Definitely
dad?
Bollywood songs.
So you'd always hear that.
But I mean, another thing with my dad was like we never really played music. It was he loved playing audiobooks. So we'll get into that later on, like what's influenced me as far as like, you know, business and life and personal growth and all that stuff. We'll get probably into later into the interview.
Fair enough. Speaking of that, we're gonna take a quick commercial break. Make sure you keep it locked. You know we're doing it right, so make sure to keep it locked to The Voice. Good job, bro. All right, now we're gonna go to Miami shit.
How was that, bro?
That was good. It's flowing.
That was good?
It's flowing.
I don't sound terrible on the on the mic. How do I sound, bro?
You sound fine, to be honest.
Good?
Yeah. Bean said you were talking really fast. That's just Bean.
For real?
Yeah.
Fuck.
But you
Slow
always
down.
talk fast.
I do.
That's how you are. It's like a bad thing.
Holy shit, bro. I shouldn't get that. I don't want that.
You about to take your shirt off on camera,
Yeah,
bro?
yeah, bro.
I'll find it on YouTube.
Yo.
Literally about to take his shirt off to wipe the water smell.
Yeah, this is job over your shirt where you keep
Legit.
shit
By the way, we have B-Rod in the house looking like Killmonger from Black Panther. Can't say it on the radio because there's no call to action, but
Of course.
go see it.
Alright, skirt, legal ID.
260 members.
Only a
The
call to action, we
GSA
don't
is a
say,
game changer.
go watch
And not
Black
just
Panther.
because of its direct action.
Many people.
Alright, so we're gonna talk about not going into this.
And if they take
Whenever you
Childhood activities, all that good shit.
That's Daniel Raiju of American University of Beirut, an expert on the politics of sports. He says because athletes can reach beyond political and religious lines, they can help inspire action among fans, local companies, and even politicians. And that's a win for everyone. I'm Anthony Lazarus. Climate Connections is produced by the Yale Center
Yeah,
for
that
Environmental
American
Communication.
I've never heard
Learn
of
more at YaleClimateConnections.org.
There might be, though.
Listen to
Alright, we're gonna go
American Live, South Korea's longest running electronic music show.
We got viewers in India, bro.
Yeah. Alright, 30 seconds.
Cool.
Back to our usual schedule every Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. beginning March 1st. Be sure to tune in on WVUM.
What is up, Miami? You're listening to WVUM 90.5 FM, The Voice, on code 305. And I basically come in, and this show essentially is about bringing in people, Miami natives, or just residents that have grown up perspective, you know, based on what they've seen and just their cultural background of what they learned, you know, growing up. And then as an additional talking point, we go ahead and talk about what my current guest is doing, working on, you know, writing about, living with, you know, all that good stuff. So we've been joined by my boy, Viraj, my dog. You lit. Alright, so we just finished talking about, you know, the Indian culture. We got some, you know, the way you guys dress. We talked about the foods you guys eat, the music you guys listen to, arranged marriages.
Yes,
now,
sir.
you know, talk about how you guys, or you at least, ended up here in the United States, in Miami.
In the United States?
Yes,
Ooh,
sir.
That's a loaded question. So like I said, my uncle brought everybody over, but eventually it was my parents, right? So I'm a first generation American. My dad came over from Rajasthan, India, and my mom came over from Haryana. And you know, eventually my parents had the arranged marriage. They were married, and for the first couple years they weren't even together, bro. Like they weren't even together. So for 2 years, because my mom had to stay there, my dad had to come back and, you know, finish up work before he could bring her back here. So they spent 2 years apart, and you know, just that resilience. And they told me a bunch of stories about that time, how they've been on the phone for 24 hours straight, or, you know, like just stories like that really show you like they were resilient, they were strong, and they were willing to work for it. As you know, somebody in today's generation probably couldn't do that with, you know. So I mean, that's 1995. I was born and raised in Pembroke Pines, Florida, Broward County, represent 954. You know, so that's been my bring up. I've been in Pembroke Pines, Broward most of my life.
Absolutely. So can you kind of describe the difference between the people that live in Broward County, by the way? So people that are listening, when we say Broward, that's the county that's above Miami-Dade County. Very two distinct worlds. But I'm going to let Viraj kind of touch up on that and further explain what that really is and entails.
Well, I think as far as Miami goes, it's very, very Hispanic, more so Hispanic than it is in Broward County. I would say Broward County is more neutral. I think Miami has a lot of cultures that are just, it's like a melting pot, because there's a lot of people, especially the Hispanic culture is very prevalent in Miami versus Broward County. I would say it's more neutral up there. But you know, as they say, like in South Florida, or Florida as a whole, is probably one of the only states that where the more north you go, the more southern it gets. I'm not saying Broward County is southern, but it's definitely not as Miami is. It's not as diverse. It's more of a, if I were to compare the two places, bro, like Miami's more youth, and then like the Broward County's more suburbs. You know, a lot of older people live there. You start your family in the suburbs. You move there if you want a lot of space. In Miami, it's becoming more of like a city now, and obviously there's space in Miami. There's a lot of big houses here, but you know, with that comes a price, and so I think that explains a lot too of the type of economy that is in Miami versus Broward County.
Right, absolutely. I think it's funny because, you know, being someone from Dade, I've mingled with people from Broward County, and I can tell you immediately there's a difference. Not only is because that, you know, there's a Latin population here that's very dominant and, you know, in a large force. Yeah. Once you go over to, you know, Broward County, it is a lot more American, I would say. You know, it's neutral. You got your blacks, you got your whites. Yeah. And I think that's about it. Yeah. I barely.
You have
see.
your Spanish here and there.
Right, you have your Spanish, but it's not
Indian.
Exactly. So exactly. So it's safe to say that you do note the difference. It's just it's like you said, the rest of Florida. I can sincerely tell you that, you know, Miami-Dade County, it's its own world.
When you say CVS Pharmacy, EMAS, you know you're in Miami.
Absolutely. You know Danos, you know, Presidentes, all that good stuff. But yeah, you know, me from Miami-Dade, when I would mingle with people from Broward, it's a completely different game. You know. They're more assimilated, I would say, because a lot of people here are immigrants. And, you know, you'll touch up on that later, but just the fact that that's kind of like the thing here. When you go up a little bit more north to the Broward County area, it's just, you know, you don't see, it's more simulation. You have people that, you know, are more familiar with the culture. It's not really my culture trying to blend into this big melting pot once the area. It's basically, you know, what you expect in the U.S. But, you know, being from Broward, what kind of things would you guys do in the neighborhood, or just even that was just to kill time back when you were a little kid?
Bro, so I mean, I can't speak much of my childhood because most of my childhood was spent with the family. I mean, I have a lot of cousins, so I have cousins from all ages, and most of my youth was spent with them. And then eventually, as I got into high school, and I had a lot more friends, I had a lot more freedom. I had a car, I could finally drive. A lot of the places in Broward, like if you really want to go hang out, are, you know, like activities based. So you want to go play mini golf, you want to go, you know, go eat. It was all experience based more so than it is, you know, the clubbing scene or the night scene. So there wasn't much of that, but you know, there's a lot more of activities. So you and your friends, you're going out to eat, you're going out to go play bowling, or you know, it's a lot more of those activities that you can find accessible. By accessible, I mean 5 to 10 minutes away than you probably do in Miami. Which I'm sure, I'm not saying that they're not in Miami, but I'm saying it's just much more prevalent of first choice activity than it is probably in Miami.
So what would you say like the main spot is over in like maybe where you live by Pinecrest? Because when you're
Pembroke Pines.
So like the malls and stuff like that, outdoor malls,
it's
indoor
definitely
malls.
Pembroke Pines Mall is a big one. Especially in early middle, that was like the place to go to. A lot of people go to Pembroke Pines Mall. I have my friend Brian here. He's also from Broward, but you know he would attest to that. He's nodding his head right now. But, you know. That's malls usually, no matter where you go, malls are a pretty big place, you know.
Right. So you said that's middle school. So actually, let's talk about like what was the transitioning? You know, when you go to elementary school, middle school, even high school. How would you say? What was your experience like having to share with your friends?
Bro, I had probably the hardest time adjusting because, like I said in the beginning part of this interview, it was my household was strictly Indian, you know, in a sense. For the longest time I hadn't listened to English music. If you didn't watch English TV, it was all Indian TV. So it was, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, right? I'm not trying to put that out there. But what I'm saying is I was culturally behind as far as other kids were, as far as the social slang, the way people used to talk. Like I was always behind, so I would never get the jokes, and I was never the inside person in a crowd. So especially growing up, and then eventually like I found a place in basketball, which is where I picked up in 8th grade, 9th grade, and I pursued that, and I used that as my vehicle to sort of belong. And as I grew in basketball, I grew in life because I gained more confidence. I gained more of I felt like I owned one thing, and that was my thing. Basketball was my thing, and so I grew on that. And basketball helped me grow as a person, as a teammate, and just overall leadership and all those things, man. I think like that really helped me through my youth because I wasn't the most secure person back in the day.
Absolutely. And the reason why I asked is because usually I think that's one thing maybe that's a little harder, or yeah, I would say harder because like you just said, you just shared like that's something you get the slangs, how to the songs, what's trending,
exactly.
How to blend in. I think here with like being in Miami-Dade, like everyone's a melting pot, so it's kind of like what do you got, what I got. I think over there, since like I mentioned earlier, it's a lot more simulated. It's a lot more of the American pop culture that we're used to seeing.
I think that my childhood definitely helped though, because I aspired to be more pop culture, more savvy, more stylish, more all those things combined, and this all played a part because of a need for me to want to be a part of those conversations, want to be pop culture, want to be cool, want to be which I didn't have earlier. So now I'm like it forced me to want to learn more and probably grow more into the culture that is prevalent here in Miami and Broward and all that, and that helped me tremendously, I think.
Excellent. I feel you. So because I've actually had a lot of friends with the same situation, where they've come over from a different country and they just experiencing what it is to be like in in the U.S. And I think being from Dade, it's a lot easier in a sense. It's still hard, but especially when you're in Broward County where there's not as much of a melting pot, that's something that I think stays with a lot of, with you from what I've talked to friends that have had that same experience. Right. But you do talk about your confidence. So you said you started picking it up more in middle school. Talk about.
No, I would say probably end of high school.
End of high school.
Yeah, 11th and 12th grade year, because there were a lot of places in basketball where I wasn't really accepted. Especially like when you're an Indian basketball player, bro. It's new. You're not usually the first person picked out when you go to the park or LA Fitness to go play basketball. You're usually not the first person, but then you get on the court and you can play, and that's that was like my distinguishing point. You know what I mean? I actually forgot the question.
So basically what I asked was like, when is it that you picked up your I was gonna talk about high school, but once you picked up your confidence, like when would that have been?
Oh, that was so like eventually going back to it. Around the end of 10th grade, I switched schools to university school in Davie, and I met a lot of people there that, like, I think it's not even the meeting of the people. I think my mindset changed. I think I changed from what other people care about me, like what other people think about me, to like what I think of myself. And I realized that I was lacking in my self-esteem, and I valued my opinion with others. Like what others thought of me, I valued extremely. And I think like I said, like basketball in that sense, it was a way for me to show people that I belong. And the need for wanting to fit in early on was because I wasn't fitting in earlier, right? So I wanted to fit in, and then that usually it creates those thoughts of you like what does this person think of me, or how can I be a people pleaser, basically. And that's what I became. And it was that moment at the end of my 10th grade year where I decided, no more. Like, I'm not going to think of what other people think about me. I'm going to do what I feel is right, what I want to do, and I'm not going to care what other people are going to make judgments. Of course, it sounds easy to say, like, you made that change and it happened, but it took its time. Like, there were a bunch of self-conversations that I had with myself that were like, no, you don't care about what this happens. Or, they were like, I would think about, like, rankings camps, and I was like, I don't want to go to the ranking camp because I don't know what they're going to rank me. And I don't want to put myself expose myself in that position, which might have been beneficial for me, but I never would have realized that because I valued so much what other people thought of me. So 11th and 12th grade year, it was a lot later than a lot of people usually start. But I grew into myself, and I think that was huge.
Absolutely. So transitioning out of that, putting your life, you go into the University of Miami.
Right.
Describe that. Like, what is it that you got exposed to that was something that maybe you can take with you for the rest of your life?
Bro, again, I think Miami culture as a whole, because I was never exposed to it.
So being your first time in Miami was when you went to college.
Yeah, basically, like in Miami, yeah, and I can attest to that because I spend pretty much my whole day here, so I'm always interacting with people, you know, especially being a part of the Association of Commuter Students as the unpaid member. Yeah, bro.
Wait, tell people that story. Tell me that story, please.
No, I mean I never paid dues. That's all.
Right. So like the joke is because obviously we're cool with Raj. Everybody
Yeah.
that's from the organization.
Yeah.
And it's just funny.
It's just an ongoing joke.
Absolutely,
It's
it's a joke because he still hangs out with. Because the thing is,
I hang out with everybody. I think I'm friends with the majority of the people that are there, and I have wonderful relationships with the people that are there. So I think, you know, and most of those people are from Miami. I have my Broward crew like Brian, you know, Laura, Priscilla in the beginning. Now she's in Homestead, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like these people there, and then I meet a lot of new people like, you know, like Javi, Stavros, like, you know, Ignacio, Nico, and, you know, I can name a bunch of people from Miami because, you know, I've made a lot of friends, and I don't want to offend anyone by saying that I'm not mentioning them, but I've met a lot of people that have truly made a difference in my life. And as broad as that sounds, like I never in the beginning had a crew to hang out with, and now I feel like I finally gained that here at UM, you know?
So what are some of the organizations that you looked, you know, kind of peeked your head into to see what is it, you know, maybe I can gain an experience out of this group of people?
What's crazy is my freshman year was spent mostly off campus, so I would come to school, take classes, and leave. And then my sophomore year was when I really started like, okay, I need some friends, or I need to at least network with a few people while I'm here, right? And the first place I went was Federación de Estudiantes Cubanos. It was just FEC, and it was a bunch of, you know, people that were of Cuban heritage and that had their own little organization. And I used to play dominoes with them, and I learned a lot of things there because like the greeting with the kiss on the cheek, it was something that I'd never done before. So when I did that here and I got so used to doing it, when I went back home, it would be really confusing when I hugged my mom and give her a kiss on the cheek. So I'd be like, "What are you doing?" You know what I mean? It was different because you're not used to that in Broward. So here, that's something that was like, okay, this is something that's new. The way people talked, the way people joked. It was that was a great intro for me into basically Miami culture because I got into it, like I immersed into it, like cafecitos and, you know, all those little knickknacks that you don't really know about in Broward, but you get to learn and understand when you're here at Miami. And still to this day, there's a lot of people that are like, yo, you didn't, you know, do this or this because I wasn't used to it in Broward, like, you know, I didn't know about it or whatever.
So you say that you're most comfortable now, like you feel like you blend in well with like people from Miami.
Dude, I don't even think it's about blending in. I just think I feel like I'm at the place now where I can communicate with anybody, and, you know, whether it's a language barrier or whatever, I feel like I can at least make another person feel comfortable when they're in my presence. Like I don't want to make them feel like either they don't belong or make them or push them away because of my energy. Like I always want to be an inviting person, and I think that I'm like at the right time at the right place. I'm at the place where I can create friendships and relationships and make people comfortable being in my space.
And would you say that is because of the fact that we are such a melting pot in this city?
I would 100% agree to that. I would attest to that. I think Miami is super accepting, versus if I were doing this in someplace up north where it might not be the case. But like here, you know, people don't look at you for, you know, what your background is. They look at you for what type of a person you are, and that plays heavy. You know, people look. People don't see the color of your skin, but they see the character that you possess and the person that you are in the conversation. So people in Miami, I feel they worry about their space a lot. And that goes for people that are bad people. If they're bad people, they really want just bad people around them. If they're good people, they see good, they feel good, and they want those people to be in their circle. And I think I've attracted those people in my life, and I'm really happy with where I'm at and, you know, my friendships and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So what would you say, have you picked up any like places that you prefer, or, you know, I'm pretty sure you've heard of the South Beach, the Wynwood, like how did you like explore that?
Well, a lot of it I got a chance to explore once I got in college. So there were, you know, as a little kid I was always fascinated by South Beach because of the cars. I think my dad took me when it was my dad and my older cousin. It was just us three, and we were coming back from, I think, the Miami Auto Show. And Miami Auto Show is like, if you know me and you're really close to my family, you know that it's a yearly thing. Whenever there's an auto show, we have to go see it. So one time after the event, we just went down South Beach because that's where, literally, like back in the day, it's not as much now. If you went to South Beach and you parked on the side, it was just exotics. It was Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Aston Martins. It was just, I was exposed to cars. And I like to think that that's where my love of cars came from. It's just being exposed to that at such an early age. And yeah, man, I think like now being able to go and visit South Beach and seeing the beach for what it is. Like I never stepped foot on the beach till I was I want to say 19 or 20. And that was only to bring my friend from New York who had come over here. I knew him through a seminar. And he come back and he's like, yo, show me around Miami. And I showed him to the beach and we walked on the beach for a little bit and then we left. But it was still like, you know, I got a chance to explore some things. And Wynwood, if you really know Wynwood and you really know Miami, you know that it wasn't what it is now as long ago as 3 years ago. And even today, like if you drive, you're driving right by Overtown. Overtown into Wynwood is a 2-second, maybe 5-minute walk. So it's not the best neighborhood mixed with where everybody goes and hangs out now. And it's changed a lot since I was young. Wynwood wasn't a thing when I was younger. It just became a thing now while I'm in college.
What about Brickell? Have you had any taste in that?
Brickell City Center is gorgeous. I think the reason I love Miami so much and the reason why I would never leave Miami is because you get the best of both worlds. If you want the city life, you can get the city life in Brickell. It's literally like a little New York. And then if you want the suburbs, it's like 30 minutes away. And you want the beach, it's like 30 minutes away. So I think the diversity of Miami is something that I love, man. And I'm not a big fan of like the warmth and the heat, not the Miami heat, the regular heat. You know, like I'm not a big fan of that. But it's easily like you can put that to the side when you have such an amazing experience here.
No, absolutely. I want to get into the fact of what you're doing now. You're talking about what it is, you know, clothing line that you have, you know, just created. So we're gonna take a quick commercial break.
Of course.
We're gonna come back to that. So make sure you guys keep it locked to The Voice.
Fire.
Backgrounds that could be qualified
Lit.
to become members of our I went to a
He
number
was
of
like,
women's
I'm
groups
sad I'm not
that
part of
said, "Can you
Broward
help us
Gay
find
anymore?"
folks?" And I brought
He said she moved to Homestead.
women.
Coral Gables, Miami.
This is the sound of salmonella gyrating on your undercooked chicken.
Fire, bro.
And
Shared
it
it?
looks like mom might be
Fucking boy.
taking it out a little early. Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. So use a thermometer to cook each type of meat to the right temperature. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov. Brought to you by the USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
This year, WVUM will be participating in the University of Miami's Relay for Life. Relay for Life is a global effort to raise money for the American Cancer Society. To donate, just go online to main.acsevent.org/go/WVUM.
ACS?
The link
Yeah, it
is
is
also
us.
available on our website,
That was us, right?
WVUM.org. All proceeds will go directly to the American
That's what we do, no?
Cancer Society.
Yeah, American Cancer Society. Who was that?
That's just been bro. That means that they put that on rotation. That means that they've been promoting that on the radio for a minute. Whenever it's in the library, that's what we put on rotation.
Who was that speaking?
Someone in charge of like public service announcements.
Oh, okay.
Let me know when it's time to go on.
For sure. Actually, yeah, get ready now. No, but you know what I mean.
Here, we play 60. United Way in the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day. To get involved, go to unitedway.org.
Oh, wait for me to put this dial down, and then that's when you speak.
Brought to you by
Because it still pick up on what you're saying. You get me? Don't forget to talk into the mic. You're doing a great job. I just want to make sure you're remembering that.
Cool. I am, right? I'm not.
Yeah. You're good.
I mean, I found myself moving my voice this way, but I feel like you're still here. Right?
Yeah. You should.
Follow us on Instagram at WVUN.
Alright, that's the last one. We're you gotta kill 30 minutes of the confident shit. You gotta kill 32 minutes. Actually,
Yo, just talk anything related to business, fashion, anything, and we'll do it.
What is up? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
Why you gotta say it like
to? Oh, you know, as the thing is, I just try to practice my radio voice. To be honest, I'm just trying to sound like that late night guy, but I'm working on it because I'm usually actually a hype guy. I'm a hype guy because like I mean I did pick this. I take a listen to all my audience. I did pick this time for you to join me because I want to make sure before you start off your week, I'm the first thing you're listening to, along with my guests, and enjoying it. You know what I'm saying? That's honestly essentially what my purpose is.
Plus, my friend Brian says I got a face for radio, so.
Oh, I think it's the part. This the funny part is that no one you're actually videotaping this, but for my audience, I wish you guys could see this because he really does. I think you could put him on maybe the poster child of some sort of like radio station just to promote it. Maybe. You know, in the works in the future, but
you do realize it's a joke, right?
Oh yeah, but you know how I am. I keep
you gotta turn it into positive. Yeah.
All right, so for everyone that's tuning in now, if you've been listening, thank you so much since the beginning of the program when it started. But if you're just tuning in now, just a quick recap. I have my boy Viraj in the studio. He is from India, pure Indian, purebred. He's been talking about, you know, Bollywood, you know, arranged marriages.
I do want to give a shout out to my little
Dude.
cousin sister that's actually watching in India right now.
Yo,
Sanya, I love you.
Hey, Jay, shout out to all my international listeners. I
Yeah,
do
of
love
course.
people. More people the merrier, right?
Yeah, of course.
So
More eyes, more views, more ears, everything.
True.
Everything helps.
True. So we talked about also, you know, what you did in your childhood, how, you know, Broward versus State County, how that dynamic works.
Right.
You know, for example, just getting a kiss on the cheek, that's something you're not used to. But here in Miami, hey, listen, that's how if you don't say, if I come up to you and you don't say hi to me like that, I would consider you rude.
100%.
So, you know, that's just how it is around here. But
I actually think like your true friends are if they see you and you don't see them and they still come up to you and say hi, that's a true friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think if somebody sees you and then they immediately look away and then they're like, oh, that person didn't see me, and they walk away. I mean, I'm not like, of course, there's people who are socially not, you know, as extroverted as I am, but I do feel like that.
You pick up on that.
That implies
absolutely.
a certain way. You know
absolutely.
what I mean?
You look at the non-verbal communication. I agree.
Exactly.
So you know, we just finished up you know, you transitioning into the basketball as a sport, you know, how that's shaped your experiences in high school. You know, you say that you started getting confident now.
Of course.
As a matter of fact, speaking of confident, can you talk about what it is that you do now, please?
What a plug, though. So for everyone that's wondering, I started a clothing brand about a year ago, almost close to a year ago. And it's based on the idea of confidence. It's spelled confident, but without the vowels. So it's CNFDNT. And
where'd you get the idea for that?
Where'd I get? Okay, so this is a crazy story. This is I want to say December of 2016, like borderline 2017, right? And I was in bed. It was one of those nights where you're up at 2-3 a.m. and your mind's just working. And this ad for this company called, you know, like, I'm not going to say the name because this is an ad for them in a sense. You know, I'm not going to say the name, but that I saw the idea and I was like, damn, like I never really, like, I would have business ideas constantly. I've had business, you know, ever since my dad put the idea of business in me, I've had business ideas for the majority of my life, I would say. And either, like, I would always tell myself a story that, you know, either it costs too much to start an app or you got to find a developer, you know, like, just putting these ideas that you're like, oh, I can't do it, right? Or it costs too much money to start up a store or whatever. So I looked at this idea of clothing and I was like, I feel like I can do that. I feel like, and I looked at all these kids that were doing clothing and I was like, man, you know, so-and-so's like 23, 24, starting a clothing line, or like, you know, different brands out here that these are young dudes that love fashion. I've always loved fashion. I've loved style. I've loved swagger in a sense, right?
Who would you say that you look up to for fashion? Like,
fashion, bro. It's so I'm not as crazy as Russell Westbrook would say. I think I have more of a clean fashion aesthetic. It's more well put together.
Like an Odell Beckham?
Like an Odell Beckham, I would say,
Absolutely.
but not as crazy. You know, like sometimes when he pulls out like, you know, I don't know, not as eccentric, I guess is the word, but it's more clean.
Right,
it's like
right,
I'm always like,
it's like
it's nice jeans, it's nice shoes,
absolutely.
nice shirt, like. But it's just well put together. It's nothing like, oh my god, what is he wearing? It's like, damn, like he looks clean.
You know, it's funny because I wish people could see the way you guys, because like the whole crew, because you're basically hanging out with everybody that made Confident, correct? There's other members in their group.
Yeah.
You gotta
So
touch,
like, I'll talk more about that as we go into the story.
No, but just want to mention because I wish you guys could see this. These guys are all just like these guys just dress very well, and you know, I just got into fashion, you know, just like dressing well. And these guys, man, I'm telling you, they rep it best. I wish you guys could see it because these guys look at what he's describing.
Well, if you do want to see us and where we're at, it's at CNFDNT.co on Instagram. That's CNFDNT.co. If you didn't hear me.
Excellent. So now we know somewhere where we can go ahead and look that out. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that because it's really what you said. It's just like a clean look that you admire. But go on.
So where were we in the story? Okay, so the idea of clothing, right? And I looked up this idea of Confident, and I was like, you know, I'm going to start something. Like, I was thinking, like, what can I base my clothing brand on? And I was thinking of things that are, you know, attributes of me, and I thought confidence was a big thing in my life. And so I was like, okay, Confident, I'm going to name it. So I went the next day, and I searched up names for businesses, like, that I could think of, and I put in, like, Confident, like, spelled out. And nothing was of it. Like, it was taken. Somebody else owned the company named Confident. So I was like, okay, let me be trendy like this other company, and let me take the vowels out. And so I went CNFDNT, and I'm actually rocking the shirt right now. And my boy Brian's also rocking the shirt. We got to get you a shirt, I'll tell you.
No, absolutely.
But, you know, so that I took that idea and I ran with it. And again, I went back into the, you know, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm going to be willing to do this, whatever. Fast forward a few months, it's like January, and going back to ACS, I was actually sitting in ACS with, it was like a small circle, and I just said this idea out loud. I'm like, I'm thinking of starting a clothing brand. I don't think anyone remembers this. I'm thinking of starting a clothing brand called Confident, and without the vowels. And you know how people, like, when you tell them an idea, they're like, ha ha ha, do it, bro. Like, not really thinking that it's gonna happen, not really being in a bad way, but just not like, oh, he's gonna do it. So, oh, Mr. Idea guy has an idea, right? So I look to one of my best friends, Javi, and he's sitting right next to me, and he gives me no reaction, nothing. Everybody else laughing, saying, he gives me no reaction, says nothing. So as like I said the idea, the day goes on, we go back to, you know, joking and doing whatever we do, and then fast forward a little bit, and that Sunday, like in the middle of the day, Javi texts me. He's like, "Yo, you think there's any real, you know, money in the clothing business?" And I was like, "Bro, if we do it right, like anything is possible, right? Like the sky's the limit. Sky's not even the limit. You set your limit. So whatever, you know, whatever you think we can do is what we can do." He's like, "Bro, I'd love to be a part of it." And he sent me 3 ideas, just boom, boom, boom. And that to me was what I needed in my circle of, you know, getting this done. Because if it were up to me, it could have been delayed another 3 months, yada, yada, yada. So this is like early January. He sends me these designs. Now I'm like, okay, shoot, like he really wants to do it. Now I have a sense of urgency to make this happen. Now I have a reason to make this actually a thing. And I go into it. We start the process. I talk to my boy who owns a gym in Pembroke Pines, more plantation area, and he started a business. And I wanted to ask him, and I talked to my dad a little bit about this too. What are the steps and processes of starting a business? So he tells me, okay, you got to go create an LLC. You got to go, you know, make sure you create a bank account. You got to go find a manufacturer. You like all the little bitty things, like find a website, find somebody who can create a website. In that process, we learned so much about internet marketing and businesses as a whole, because we went looking for manufacturers. We went looking, and essentially we started with his manufacturer because he was getting shirts for super cheap, and he told us where to get them, and they were high quality shirts. If you were to ask Brian right now, or if you were to ask anybody who has a Confident shirt, they can't say that it's not of the best quality, which is what I wanted. I wanted that for me to be able to look at a shirt and be like, I want to wear that. And whether it be at the store, whether it be anywhere, like I wanted to look at the Confident thing and be like, that's nice. I want to wear it. It feels nice. I can rock it anywhere. That's what I want to do. So essentially, it took us about 3 months in making sure that the processes were right. We started the bank account, we created the website, and we built our domain. We built everything that from scratch, and we wanted to do it the best possible way. We didn't want to half-ass anything, which is why it took us so long. In a sense, we didn't want to go into it and be like, "Here's our product." We wanted it to be like, "This is what we've been working on."
Did anyone else in the group have like some sort of like, were they all on the same page where you know what, we should time this, we should make sure this is quality before you can go ahead and publish it?
I think 100%. Like speaking for me and Javi, I think we're both very same in one way, and then we're both very different also. And then our friends like Brian or Stavi, they were key inputs into the brand, and they knew about it before anybody, and my cousin also knew about it before anybody, and they gave us inputs on like idea. My younger cousin's sister is the one who made the original palm tree, and that was the Confident palm tree that we put on the left of our shirt, and the OG shirt, if you look at it, and the first 2 shirts that we came out, the palm tree was very, very much our thing, and some of the caps. She was the person behind that. I was like, yo, she was really good at art. I was like, yo, can you make this for me? And like I didn't tell her what it was for, and she found out on April 24th, just like everybody else, that we launched it. And we started, there's a very a mentor of mine who's on Shark Tank, Damon John. He started FUBU, and he had this book called Power of Broke, and that book literally says how you can use your resources to make money. You know how people say it takes money to make money? He was like, nah, you don't want to go pay somebody $1,000 and give them a shirt and for them to rock it. You want to find out a finesse way to do that. So eventually we launched it on April 24th, used the bare minimum that we could. Essentially we started with just enough shirts for the photo shoot. Then as people started requesting more, we started getting more orders. We started making more shirts. So fast forward like 2 days after we started the brand, launched it officially, and Javi and his brother are actually out on the beach at Miami Beach, and they're looking at stores, and he sees that where we did our photo shoot, Ozuna, the rapper, the trap singer in the Latin community, is there, and he's doing a photo shoot. So he pulls up to the spot, and he hands him literally one of the shirts that we had. Look, keep this in mind, we didn't have a lot of shirts to give out, but he gave him that one shirt that we had, and he took a picture with it. And eventually, like 2 days into the business, now people are like, "Whoa, how did you get him?" And we took a picture with him, and you know his manager. We exchanged numbers, so we did a lot with Osuna because we eventually built a baseball jersey for him, and we delivered it at his concert. And we met a lot of singers in this way. And one time I was in New York, and we actually went to their jeweler. Nobody ever thinks about this, but we went to their jeweler and we handed him a shirt as well. This is while I'm in New York. It's like 2 weeks later. He's the jeweler for all these singer guys and whatever, and I got no reaction from him. So here's the funny part of that story is I got zero reaction. Like he was this like Russian mafia guy looking person, right? And he was like, "Oh, thank you." He like took it and he put it to the side, and I was like, "Damn, like we might have just lost a shirt." We took a picture with it, obviously, but he's not big enough to where he could put it and people would be like, "Oh, snap." Like he was their jeweler. He was just a connect. He was just somebody we wanted to build a relationship with. And bro, fast forward to like one of the awards that we had at the Bank United Center. My boy Javi runs into him at the awards, which is another crazy story. He finessed his way into it. It was wild. I'd much prefer him telling this story because he knows all the ins and outs of it. And he met him there, and he asked him about me meeting him. And he was like, "Bro, it's the most comfiest shirt ever. I love it. I tell yada 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 about it. Like I let people know, and I really appreciate it." And we were like that reaction. I didn't think that's what happened. I thought he took the shirt, he said thank you, and that was it.
Right.
Right? So that's sort of the origin stories of Confident, bro. It started from two young people and, you know, a bunch of advisors, a bunch of friends, a bunch of cousins, a bunch of relatives, a bunch of people played a big part in this. Javi's whole family, they're like a family to me now. It's like my second family. And, like, we built a different relationship. Keep in mind, me and Javi, we didn't really have a relationship to like, we were friends. We were just friends. Like, right past acquaintances, just friends. But this company had built us into something more.
Absolutely. So now that you talk about the fact that a lot of people are contributing to the island basis, so you can say it's safe to say that a lot of people have contributed to the look that you have and are selling now, correct?
100%.
And is that still the case where, you know, how's the selection process? So let's say, can you kind of run me through, you know, do you guys brainstorm, you know, sit down, have meetings, this is what we should do, should we ask more people, like how does that work?
It's actually very sporadic. Like nowadays with Instagram, right? Like now you can set up a poll on Instagram and see what people think of the design. So if anytime Javi gets a creative idea or I get a creative idea, we discuss it amongst each other. We share it with our close friends, like my friend B, Stavi. They all have an input on what that design, what they feel their reaction to that design is. So just recently we came out with a 305 shirt, and the poll, when we put up the poll, we didn't get the results that we expected. So it was like 64-36, you know? It was not like, it wasn't a blowout like, oh my God, people are going to love this shirt. But eventually we went out and we put the shirt out anyway. And it was the biggest sale of any shirt that we've ever done, simply because of the way we marketed it. So, like literally, we were going to go meet a couple of restaurants to see if we could do pop-up stuff with them and talk to them about setting up, you know, like our little store in front of their thing while they have people come in and like they can see our stuff and eventually go do that, eventually go eat or whatever and check out our stuff on the side. But while that happened, he came up with the idea of us on 305 Day launching a shirt called 305 to my city. But the 305 is in Domino's, which you know is very prevalent in the Miami
culture, absolutely.
In the Miami culture, because people play Domino's a lot, and it's set up the way exactly people would look at it. And that shirt took off, and we sold it for $3.05, and you know it was 305 from Miami.
Do they sell that anymore? Do you guys like make that?
We have limited quantities available. Please check us out now at CNFDNT.co if you want to see what we're talking about.
Right.
But yeah, that's that story, man. That one idea. So there are many ways of us verifying how it looks, but we don't always stick to one way. If we have a gut reaction of what might work, we go with it anyway. And sometimes, like in this case, it worked out really well, even though the poll said something completely different.
Right. How do you feel like that? Who makes the decision? Like, do you guys, is that a group thing where you guys say, all right, look, this is the amount of risk we have taken into this. I'm gonna be the one to do the decision. Say, you know what, we got to go full on board with this and just try to publish it, see what's up with it.
I think it goes either way. I would say there's certain times I've put my foot down about certain decisions, and there's some times where Javi's put his foot down about certain decisions, and we balance it out because we have such a good relationship ourselves that decision of the business, it's not a hindrance to how we go about, you know, making moves. And he comes from a more creative perspective than sometimes I do, so he understands when I say an idea and it's not really a good idea. And I come from more, you know, I mean, I'm creative too, but I come from a little bit more logical perspective. When he says, okay, this might work, but sometimes I'm like, nah, that's not going to work.
Right. So how important is it to have someone that's a business partner that you have a good chemistry with and just share a good relationship with?
Huge. Because you're dealing with this person, like, bro, I'll tell you, I was looking at our text one time, and like that text from when he sent me about starting the clothing brand to when the last time we texted was around Christmas. He texted me a Christmas update, which was December 25th, 2016. And then the next conversation we had was in January of sometime, and him being like, yo, should we do this? And then from that day, I don't think we've ever had a day where we haven't texted each other.
Nice.
But like, it's more than us being business partners, because we're here at school every single day, and we're boys, and like, we have the same crew, we have the same friends, we have the same ideologies, we come from the same background, family values. You know, it's very put together. And if you don't find that in your partner, you're gonna have a hard time connecting with that person. Not even connecting with a person, but enjoying time while you're with that person. If you're gonna spend an allotted amount of time with somebody and you don't enjoy it, you're not gonna want to do more of it. But there's not a day that goes by where we aren't excited to, you know, let's go build this, let's go do that, let's go work on this, let's go work on marketing, let's go work on, you know, meeting with the people that we partner with, like print shops and stuff like that, like manufacturers, stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, bro. And you want to make sure that if you're going to have a business partner, it's somebody you're extremely close with.
Fair enough. So what would you say a lot of the support that you guys are getting from, like, what's the age group you guys are trying to target to be purchasing this?
Bro, it's I want to say, first of all, it's everybody. I think the message behind the brand is confidence. So I feel like and I can attest to this, I feel like if I was more confident at an earlier age, I don't regret anything, but that period of life would have gone differently, and I can say that for everybody else as well. And I'm seeing that. I think you see that shift now in the culture, because a lot of young kids are realizing they can do things outside of school that makes them more prominent, whether that be through social media or building a business. I think it's never been easier, and at the same time never been harder to build an actual business, because there's so many people doing it, and there's so many people that aren't good at doing it, but at the same time you can get your name out there if you do it the right way.
Absolutely. So what are you studying, by the way, because I want to know if that's anywhere related, or you picked up anything from those classes that you
I'm an entrepreneurship major.
So describe how that's helped you or influenced any way of your business making decisions.
I wouldn't say that it's helped me. I think if anyone has helped me, it's been my father. So like we talked about this in the earlier times, like, did I ever listen to music with my father? The straight answer is no. So he used to drop me off to high school. We used to live like 40 minutes away, my 9th grade and my 10th grade year. And there wasn't one morning where we played music. And I used to hate it. And he would just put these self-help books, these personal development books, because he knew what he was doing. I had no idea. I had no idea what this was. I hated it. I tried to fall asleep, like, no, you gotta wake up, you gotta listen to this message that's coming out. And I would just sit there with my face down, and like, I hate this. Like, in my mind, I don't like this. Eventually, days upon days upon days upon days of that compounding, it became a thing where I was like, yo, it changed my life unconsciously, mind you. Like, it was the way I was reacting to things, the way I was reacting to people. That was the reason why I made the switch from I care about what people think to that's not going to be an issue anymore. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to live life the way I want to live, because it was done at such a young age, and I gained that exposure at such a young age compared to what other people gain that. I think personal development and self-help, everybody has to deal with it at some point in their life. I just got to it at an earlier stage.
So you feel like if your father had not exposed you to that, do you think
my life would have been completely different?
But do you think you would have fallen upon that eventually, or that's just never would have happened? Like,
I don't think it would have happened. I think like I would have been so destructive in the way I went about those early years in my high school, whereas it would have come out some other way. So it would have been either me, and I'm not trying to make it sound like I was a sad person. I was always a happy person, right? But there were times where I felt like I didn't fit in, and it wasn't until I learned that we were born to stand out, because the people we always try to fit in these circle groups. So the people we admire are the people that stand out. If you think about it, you look at the Kobe's, you look at the Cristiano Ronaldo's, you look at the like the Michael Jordans. They were hated and they were loved at the same time, because they didn't care for people being around them. They didn't care for being they didn't care for pleasing other people. They cared about what their goal was and how they can be better and how they can provide for their families and provide an experience. A lot of times people get my message wrong. They think it's all about the money. It's not about the money. It's about the experiences that you leave the people that you love the most. So it's about giving your mom everything that she's ever given you. It's about giving your dad, a trip to Italy. It's about giving your family a all expenses paid trip to Bora Bora, or anywhere of their choosing. but you don't have to worry about it, and your quality of life just gets better. And then eventually you can focus on pushing the human race forward. Like look at what's his name right now? Bezos, Jeff Bezos, $130 billion. He, like, the money is the last concern that he has in his life. He doesn't have to pay the bills. He doesn't have to worry about any of those things. He's now focused on how can I make life easier for the human being. Elon Musk, same thing. He's worrying about pushing the human race forward. How can we get to Mars? How can we shorten travel time from between countries to 60 minutes, which is absolutely crazy. But that that thought process changed because they think about money like breathing. We don't have to think about breathing. They think about money like that. They don't have to think about money. If they total a car, they total the car. That's it. If they put it down, I'm not saying you think about that the ways right now, but you aim to achieve that level of success so you can push the human race and yourself forward. Because I think the more you have, the more you can give.
No, absolutely.
And eventually, like, initially you have to be a little bit selfish about that, because if you're not good, nobody else around you is going to be good.
True.
It's like when you're in an airplane and you know what the air hostess says is like, if you end up crashing, put the mask on yourself before you put it on the person next to you. You got to make sure that you take care of yourself so eventually you can take care of everybody that's around you, the people that you love, and all those things.
Right. Does that surprise you that if you had not, even that I never had that influence from your parents, that you would have been a completely different person?
Say that again?
Does it surprise you like that? The fact that one little decision, because right, you said, your dad could have been the typical dad that just plays music. Yeah. Does that shock you? And is that something you still see every day that you experience?
I think a lot of times people get it twisted. There's a such thing called grace, called luck, and a blessing. And in this case, this was my blessing. Like, my parents, I love them to death. They've given me everything and more, and I would go the edge of, whatever to provide for them forever and ever. And that's simply because of the way that, I've been raised. And if they hadn't done that, I don't know where I would. You really don't know, because certain situations would have been different. You would have turned out. I would have never probably went to the high school that I went to. Never probably transferred after my 10th grade year. Never probably had the basketball experience that I had. They've invested so much into my younger life that most parents probably, like, if any parents do, like, it's different,
Right. Absolutely.
And they've kept the barrier of being strict and lenient very well. So they've kept it strict in the sense where this is the way things are going to go down, and then they've kept it lenient where, like, okay, go and chase your dreams, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Go do whatever you want. We have no restrictions on how you achieve what you achieve. Just go and do what you want to do so that you're happy. And that's not saying that the parents that don't do that is because they hate their kids or something. That's just all that they know. You know what I mean? So for whatever reason, my parents decided in their youth that they were going to think a certain different way when it came to education, when it came to work and stuff of that nature.
Absolutely. It's funny that you mentioned that, because what I noticed is that growing up, you start becoming more cautious of the world. You start understanding why certain things are a certain way. Yeah. And I just do want to attest to that. Just like highlight the fact that you really are influenced by what your parents do to you. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
If you have bad parents, like you said, hey, that's not, and you grow up, because there's been cases, man, that I've seen myself. I have friends that grew up in a broken home, and you can see either the struggle that they have, try to cover that up, or just trying to deal with that, because not many people have the same privilege that, you and I had with good parents.
I think parents and family also plays a big part into it, because, like, my grandmother, she spoils me with compliments. I think my confidence comes from that as well, because I was the youngest kid after my older cousin, 10 years apart. So after 10 years, this was the first baby that got in the household. And I was, like I said, my family all lived together. So my aunts, my uncles, everybody, that was the baby. So they showered that baby with love. And they told that baby that, you are the best, you're the greatest, you're awesome, which built an underlining, level of, satisfaction. Like, I'm at the point now in my life, like, I love my friends, but if my friends were to be like, we don't mess with you anymore, we're done being your friends, I can still be happy because I know that I have someplace to go home to. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I think parents play a big part, and your family plays a big part in building who you are. But there's two things, right? There's your family, like the situation that you go through with your family, but then there are people that have poor situations that turn out to be great situations.
Right,
you know
exactly,
what I mean?
exactly.
So, and I think the reason that happens is because they surround themselves with the right people. So like Jim Rohn said this, like, you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, and I can attest to that. Like, the people that I surround myself with, all goal-oriented, all hustlers, all want to make big things happen in their life, all ambitious. You know what I mean? And the reason that's another reason why, like, stacking upon the good parenting, stacking upon the good relationships around me, it leads only to explosive growth. Now, I'm no person of success whatsoever right now, right? I can say that, but that should never stop you from saying the things that you want to achieve and the level of greatness that you want to achieve. So for me, this being my first radio interview ever, I do, as a sort of level of expectation for myself, expect another one eventually at some time, someplace.
No, absolutely.
Because I've been exposed to this, right?
Absolutely. No, it's funny that you mentioned that because the reason why I bring people onto the show is because of that sole reason. Is that you understand that you are doing something that you can further expand on.
Yeah.
And the reason why I even took interest into your guys' clothing brand is because I know, I see the guys, the CEOs, the guys that are in charge of that. I see the hustle that you speak about. I see the confidence, because I myself is getting into that stage where what, I'm starting to feel confident too. You know, it took me a while.
Going into the person that you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I there was a moment as well where I myself struggled with that. In high school as well.
I think most people do, bro.
Right.
And
exactly.
The people that seem cool at the time are the ones either struggling now or they were struggling with something else at that time, and it was just a different time for them. I believe in this. I read somewhere that you're in a different. Everybody has their own time zone. So you could be 19, look at somebody else who's 19, and all of a sudden they have a Ferrari, they have a Lamborghini, they have all these nice things, they go on all the best trips, they see the best places, and, like 10 years down the road, they die. For whatever reason, they die at 30. Whereas you don't get all those things. And these are all just materialistic things, but it's to prove a point, is you don't get all the things that you want until you're 50, but then you live to be 100 years old. So I believe everybody's in a different time zone in their life, and you're going to grow into your own person at your time. I'm going to grow into my own person at my own time. And as long as you never give up on that, like as long as you don't take all the failures that you have, and you don't like, okay, this is it, I'm done, I'm not going to try anymore. The minute you stop giving and putting in more effort into being what you want to be, you're never going to get there. You're going to go over like 100 failures before you get that one success. Like the guy from KFC who had 1,009 no's. I don't know how many people know this, but the guy from KFC had 1,009 no's before the first person said, yes, I'll buy your chicken recipe.
Wow, that's crazy. No,
how many people would have given up after the first 100 no's?
That's what I'm saying. How do you feel that how do you motivate yourself? Because that does take a lot of motivation, consistency. How do you feel like you motivate yourself to maintain
real quick
that?
Before we go into this, we're going to go into this in a little bit, but real quick, I want to say the thing you attested about the brand, I think that's what speaks a lot about our brand, is because the message that we put out relates to the message that we want to put out. The way we carry ourselves. Like, what if we were shy people marketing this company called Confident, right?
Absolutely.
That's why, like there's a lot of people that want to say, I want to start this, but then they don't take the necessary actions, which is, if you are an introvert, yes, you're going to have to step out of your comfort zone a little bit to push your market, to push your brand into the market. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
You can't be quiet. A famous saying, bro, closed mouths don't get fed, bro.
That's true.
Closed mouths don't get fed.
No, absolutely. No, now you're touching up on that. Like, what do you see the brand in the future? What do you guys your future goals are? I think
me and Javi are very clear that Confidence just chapter 1 in what we're doing, and we're selling T-shirts now, but it's gonna grow into something that I don't think either of us knows yet, or we have an idea, but we're not comfortable sharing it as of right now. You know what I mean?
Does that scare you?
Of course, bro. Of course, but not to the point where I would stop doing it. I think people get courage and fear. Like, courage is not, not being scared. It's acting instead of, like, being fearful. Is you're scared, but you're going to do it anyway.
Right.
What separates successful people from people that don't make it, bro? It's a little bit. It's just a little bit. Is they're willing to consistently do the things that most people don't want to do. I don't feel like going to the gym this morning. Guess what? Somebody else didn't feel like it either. They went. They got those results. You know what I mean? They kept doing it day after day after day, and then they got those results. So, going back to the motivation thing, I think it stems from a lot, like, motivation in itself is something that is, like Zig Ziglar says, motivation is something that's recommended daily. It's like showering. It's recommended daily. But I think motivation is not enough to get you to the next level. I think you have to be pulled. Like, motivation is pushing yourself to do something. But, pushing is a lot harder than when you're pulled to do something. When you're pulled and you're moved, like, I think what separates me either mindset-wise or the way that I am is that I'm very, very ambitious. I have super high expectations to myself, to where everybody else's expectations of me doesn't even matter, because I think of myself as I'm going somewhere else. You know what I mean? I have different ambitions. Like, where you think I'm going to fail is not even, like, the beginning of where I think I'm going to achieve. That's not even my goal.
Right. No, I understand.
So
that's what I'm saying, because that's honest to God, that's the reason why I just grew an interest of what you guys are doing, because I support the local artistry, to be honest, entirely. Like, I remember friends that had like $5 mixtapes, you know, in high school. I'd always be like, I gotta buy it from you because I understand, you know, that you put in the work to do that. I understand,
you know the hustle, bro.
Exactly.
You know the hustle. A lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people see, the thing is, the people that are scared of rejection are the people that are gonna mock the people putting themselves out there.
It's true. That's true.
It's because they're too scared to act on their dreams because of what other people might think of them if they fail. The people that do it are the people that fail again and again and again, and then they eventually get it. Which is another thing that scares me the most, is because this is my first ever business venture, ever. And it's doing good, right? It could be great, but it's doing good. And there's no, you know, knock on wood, no sign of us slowing down. And the thing that scares me is my first time. And it's his first time, Javi's first time. But I know we're both ambitious enough to, like, even if we do hit a point of, you know, oh shoot, we got to do something about this. Like, we'll be able to bounce over it.
No,
so I'm
absolutely.
very I'm as corny as this sounds, I'm very confident in the way that we're going.
No, honestly,
in the direction that we're
absolutely going. No, it's funny because you know what, like, you can play with the brand, like the way you guys promote, it's like Supreme.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
Like you can put Supreme this, Supreme that, like, you know, you can play around with it.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty. But how would you say? What are you gonna tell yourself? Because there's obviously I've heard, you know, everyone's story, even like the biggest successes.
Yeah.
There was a point where it's gonna seem like it's impossible now. Like, we're making such progress.
Yeah.
We come at you know, we've come where it's a block. Now we're being blocked. We can't really do much here. What do you think you guys are hoping to react like in that sense?
I think finding something that inspires us again, because I think what usually happens when people plateau is they lose the inspiration part of it. It happens. You see it in the best of people. You see the people who've been at the top of their game for the longest time, and all of a sudden they can't win a game because they're no longer fueled by the game. And this is where I go back to like my basketball influence is so huge, because Michael Jordan himself was like, I used to find things to inspire me to go into that basketball game. He's like, I've achieved every single scoring title that there is. I've achieved every single individual award that there is. But he got in his mind, he was like, you know what? I'm going to go and have the most assists on the court today. I'm going to go and I'm going to make sure that the other guy in front of me doesn't even score a point. So he found like different games, he found different reasons to play because he already achieved everything, but he had to find something to motivate. So I think if we ever get to that point, and when we, I don't want to say if, when we get to that point, it's going to come to a point like we got to find something that inspires us to take another step. Because there's always another step. Until you're Amazon or you're Jeff Bezos, the richest person in the world, there's always another step to take.
Of course.
You know? And we're not in this for the money. We're not in this to sell shirts, make a quick buck. We want to make this a brand that leaves an impact. We want to remind people that confidence is something that if you have it in your life, you're going to push it, push extra hard to get your goals because you believe in yourself. And the power of belief is the most important thing in the world.
Highly agreed. You're in Miami.
Yeah.
What if you were in another city?
Yeah.
Do you think maybe the city rubbed off on you? Because
100%.
I myself, I like to dress flashy.
100%.
You know, we like to get the jewelry on us. You know,
100%.
nothing too big.
I think I started. I don't know if you see this. I started wearing jewelry because of my boys Javi and Stavros.
So
I don't know. B, you got jewelry on or no? No, doesn't.
Oh, you're probably when he's trying though. Of course, when you're trying.
You wear when you try, right? Do you wear jewelry when you're trying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. She said yeah. He said, well, he's trying to be flashy. He wears jewelry. But that's my point. Like all my friends, they have that little bit of flashing. It's to the level where people might see it as arrogance, but it's really of a self-value type thing.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
It's like Javi put it a brilliant way. He was like, man, I was like, why do people wear chains so much? Because I'd always seen it. I don't know where the influence came from. The influence is actually because it signifies that you're a man of value. And I've always wanted to be a man of value rather than a man of net worth. It's more about being rich in adventure, being rich in experiences, being rich with relationships and friendships. And because Harvard did that study, I'm sure you've heard of it. The 70-year study. Who are the happiest people in the world? It's the people with the most friends, most relationships. It's the people that have a large Rolodex of people they can go to. They're connected. They love their friends. They hang out with their friends enough. You know, they don't get caught into the day in and day out of their life.
Absolutely. So we're wrapping up the show now.
Awesome.
It's been a good time.
I loved it, man. Thank you for
excellent.
having me.
No, honestly, just real quick. I do support the local artistry, but I have preferences.
Yeah.
I do notice certain things that, like you said, the point of what you guys are doing is that you want people to see their personal value.
100%.
And that's something that I feel like I don't take that for cockiness. It's honestly like everyone is special in their own way.
Yeah.
You guys want to say, listen, look for that, wear it, show it, because at the end of the day, that's what we all need to
our
survive.
slogan is wear, be, live. So wear confident, be confident, live confident.
Excellent. That's what I'm saying. That's literally it's self-explanatory. It's nothing too complex. It's something that you really can just with your eyes. You can see it. You want something a part of it.
Right.
You know, and you just want to be in the presence of something like that, because I have to say, you have to be confident. If no one, you can be the smartest. You can have everything. I mean, it's something that you need, because no one will love you until you start loving yourself.
That's so true.
You know what I'm saying? And I know countless people that just don't understand that maybe yet. But just when I see people like yourself, man, I do recognize, man. I always joke around with you. I always joke around with you, like even in the lounge, but I sincerely mean that, because it takes certain individuals. I didn't take, like, when I saw you guys, I didn't say that was cocky. I was like, I understand that immediately. I was like, I understand that.
I think it's weird, right? Like we look at the people that we admire the most is usually the most flashiest people, and I'm not saying we're flashy, but I'm saying in a sense we hold ourselves to a higher level of standard
and people
of being,
see that, and people
see that. And in a sense, like, people are like, damn, they really feel themselves to a point of where there were some people who might not feel themselves.
Right.
Take that as arrogance.
It's like faking it till you make it.
Exactly. And that's another point. There was another study by Harvard, bro. I don't want to talk too much over time.
That's fine. We're good.
But a study of Harvard where if you hold yourself in a superhero position, you know, with your arms on your waist and you hold your chest out before a presentation, before a game, your level of self-esteem goes up. It's just because your posture.
Absolutely.
It's because of your posture.
It's true.
So those things can help you faking it till you make it, in a sense, and being the person that you want to be.
Absolutely. One last thing.
Yeah.
If people want to find you, they want to see what the website's looking like,
right,
all that good stuff.
Right.
Where can they find you?
So if you want to find me personally, I'm at King Kulhari on Instagram, KingKulhari. And our website is confident.co. So www.cnfdnt.co. If you guys want to see what we're talking about, go and do that. And I just started a YouTube channel not too long ago. It's called V Cool, and I documented my India journey a little bit. It's V, and then there's a space, and then KUL. Or if you put my name in, I'm sure it'll come up. Viraj Kulhari, VIRAKULHARI. Yeah, man. And the YouTube thing just started, man. So if you guys don't like it, just don't hate me. Just getting started.
Excellent. So once again, thank you for coming in. You know, power to the people, man. I do this because I want people that I recognize are doing something different in the community, or just trying to highlight something that I grew up with. The flashiness, the confidence, that's something I connect with.
Hey, bro, let me tell you, the day I met you, bro, I knew you were different as well.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate that.
You were somebody of somebody like my tribe, bro. Like the same people. You're extroverted, you talk a lot, you talk loud, and you have a good time doing it. You're not scared of putting yourself out there, and I think that's what separates a lot of people, man.
Absolutely, I have to agree.
It's very easy to become your friend, because you're very out there. You're very human. You're very humble. You're very, relatable. You're on the ground. You're not. Your head's not in the air. That's another thing people get it twisted. We're not arrogant to the point where we don't know what's going on. We're very humble people, and confidence itself is based on humility. It's knowing that you're nothing, but at the same time knowing that who you are can inspire somebody else.
Absolutely, agreed. So everybody who's listening to the whole hour of this and then some, we appreciate you. You must always keep it locked to the voice. That is all we have for now. Code 305. We're officially signing out. I hope you all have a great week coming up ahead. Go Canes!